Today, I am chatting with Toni Forge. For 30 years, she has worked with or as a litigator, managing attorney, state mediator, and associate general counsel. As a graduate of Hastings College of the Law and the University of San Francisco, she's a leader in compliance and litigation management. She's acted as a chief compliance officer for major Fortune 500 companies and has implemented several litigation management programs for global insurance companies. She co-founded Four Leaf Consulting in 2016 in California as a cannabis licensing and compliance consulting firm dedicated to offering clients a practical approach to establishing their cannabis businesses. Four Leaf Consulting specializes in local and state licensing, interpreting cannabis regulations, strategic partnerships, contract negotiation, and drafting operational business strategies. Four Leaf Consulting has won several competitive cannabis licenses throughout California, including West Hollywood, Oakland, and Los Angeles. And you also serve on the advisory board of Women Empowered in Cannabis, Green Believers, and California Cannabis Coalition. There's the laundry list of accomplishments and other things you have is, first of all, just amazing. So we can just start there. But I would really love to know your backstory and just know more about you as a person and just how you ended up in Four Leaf Consulting. So we can just start with like are you from California?
I was born in Compton, California. And so I was born in Compton. I have two siblings, but unfortunately one of my siblings died of a heart attack maybe 19 years ago. I'm incredibly close with my sister, who's a dentist. My brother who died, James, was a dentist also. My mom and dad, my dad was in the Negro League. He also was one of the first Black golfers. He designed golf course. He designed the Compton golf course and was managing that for years. I mean, literally, he just retired. He's 89 and he just retired from managing that golf course during COVID. So he was there a bazillion years. And, I have a great family. I had a great upbringing. I laugh because there's so many misconceptions about Compton and, misconceptions about you're impoverished, you live on the street, gang banging, bullets all around. And that just wasn't my upbringing. I came from a middle class background. Everybody on my street, including myself, went to private school. We went to camps. We all played together. We all came from good families. So, I did not have that what people think would be stereotypic upbringing in Compton. But I think my parents had a lot to do with that because they really wanted to make sure that we got a quality education, that we were exposed to a lot of things, especially my mother. My mother has a really amazing story herself because she married my father very young. She knew him since middle school. He was in the Navy and he brought her to California after he played in the Negro League. And she wasn't educated. And so after 3 children, maybe 28 years of marriage, she became educated and got her master's and was a professor and all of that. So I'm really lucky that I come from good stock. The most influential person in my life was my grandmother that I call Medea. And Medea and my mother just really raised me to have character integrity. And that's the thing that I loved. My mother really did also raise me to be very proud of being Black. I never had, and I went to all white schools all the time, but I never had that feeling of, oh, I feel different. Oh, I don't like being Black. My mother always made me celebrated daily. And how she said you celebrate it is you have knowledge. So every day my mother would do Black History cards with me, flashcards. And so she taught me everything I knew about the experience of being Black, not only, the slave ship that came to Americas, but the slave ships that went to South America. And I just really appreciate that she gave me the foundation of how wonderful it is to be in this Black skin. And I really appreciate that. And my grandmother too. The thing that I really got from my Medea was just common sense wisdom. My grandmother was never educated, but she was the most insightful woman that I'd ever met in my life. And still to this day, I find myself repeating a lot of isms, statements that she would say, and they really brought me to a sense of knowing myself. So I come from good stock, and I'm proud of the stock I came from. And I'm lucky to come from that stock. And I have siblings who I loved as people. If I didn't know them, I would want to know them, and I love them. And they were good quality people. And my sister is a good quality person too. So I'm lucky in that. I'm lucky for the people that are in my life, my parents. I don't necessarily, get along with them at all times. My mom, yeah, now my dad has sometimes, but I'm really fortunate. I'm really fortunate, Courtney.
Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell me some of the isms that you can remember, or that you maybe say often that you've started to
Yeah.
realize?
Oh my God. So some of them I can't say because some of them are a little nasty, but I'll get them. So, like I always say crazy as a road lizard, or my grandmother and my aunt would always say if something was really expensive, this cracked me up. They would say, oh my God, that crap is higher than giraffe. You could put in the rest, genitalia. And that is my all-time favorite. But my grandmother, the number one thing my Medea gave me was about a closed fist. My Medea always said, you can't have a closed fist in life because nothing can come in and out. But when you open your hand, everything comes out, everything comes in. So that has been really my life lesson. And my life lesson with men, she always taught me, you got to be equally yoked. And that has always stayed with me. That has always stayed with me.
I love that. I have chills about the open hand one
Mhm.
because my grandmother raised me, but she
Mhm.
passed last year. And
Oh,
one
I'm
of the
so sorry
things,
to hear
thank
that.
you. One of the things she used to say was, want in one hand and shit in the other, and see
And
which
see
one
which
gets
one gets
filled.
filled faster.
Stop it! Oh,
That was my Medea's favorite line too. And I was telling your friend this, the other favorite line was, I would say, I didn't know that. And my mother and my Medea would always say, girl, all you don't know would make a brand new world. And so, that mother wit, I always have kept with me. I always say it. When I used to do litigation, I used to do openings, closings, and would put that mother wit in my closing statements at times. But, we're fortunate. You're fortunate to have your grandmother for as long as you had her. I was fortunate. Thank God, my parents are still alive. My dad will be 89 in August. My mother just celebrated her 86th birthday in January. So I am so fortunate to have my parents. I am really, really fortunate and have that legacy. I mean, that's the big thing for me. My grandmother that I'm talking about was on my maternal side, and really just my mother reinforcing all of that. And I reinforce that with my niece. So it's just really an honor when you come from stock in a family that grounded you as a person. And for me to be a woman of color in this day and age, I am so thankful. They made me so appreciative, like I said, of being Black, and so proud to be Black. I would never want to be any other thing, no matter how challenging it may be. All the racism that I've dealt with all my life, there would be no other place and thing I would want to be except a Black woman.
Well, I think we can just end the show now. That was, I think we're done here. I don't really know if there's anything else we can cover from there. That was amazing. I don't know if it's a grandmother thing that maybe just, I always found my grandmother to be very graceful.
Yes,
we would go head to head a lot. Like we were definitely opposites, but it was something that I admired. And I also just wonder if that's with age. We make age to be this whole like, oh my God, I'm older as a woman. And I'm like, all the most incredible women I know are older than me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the grace of getting older. It's a strange thing getting older, because you look back at your younger self and you're like, oh my God, if I could have, Toni, talked to you off the ledge about this, that, and the other, everything will be okay. Now I really don't stress out about a lot of things, because I absolutely know with all certainty God in the universe has me. I absolutely know that. So I always say, and I got this from my sister, I can do anything in 20 days, in 10 days. Anytime I have something hard going in my life and it will be over in a week or two, I say that mantra all the time. I can do anything today. I can do anything tomorrow. And it really keeps me going. And the beauty about getting older is that you learn the things that really are important and the things that are really not important. And the book that really kind of changed my life, I want to say in my late 30s, early 40s, was I read The Four Agreements, and I decided to live the mantra of the Four Agreements. And when I made that shift, everything changed for me. Everything. Dating changed, because before, you date people, you think, oh, they just don't like me. One of the mantras is don't take anything personally. And so for me, dating was like, if the guy didn't like me, I'm not his preference. But there was nothing wrong with me. I just wasn't his preference. He don't like women with a big ass and thick in the thighs, and that's his right. But I never saw it as rejection after that. That book really did. So to all you ladies out there, definitely get that damn book, because it's really great with how to be your best self, and exercise self-care, because the book is really about self-care, when you're doing your best, when you're giving it your all. But that's it. After you've done your best, you don't have to go back and, oh my God, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? You don't have that. You just leave it where it is and you move on.
That's a hard one. Have you ever heard of The Untethered Soul?
No, I'm writing that down.
I will send it to you.
Oh,
that is I wouldn't say similar to Four Agreements, but the entire premise of it is that basically about being present. In full presence, and how you have to just separate like your being from your soul. And it's so good. I won't do it any justice. You just
okay,
so
good. I'm gonna read that.
The Untethered Soul is really good. And then also Untamed.
Okay.
Untamed by Glennon Doyle is another really good, and that's more of a just kind of like woman empowerment, but talking about how we just have to be who we are as women, and it doesn't matter that we shouldn't care, and that's just like that we have to accept ourselves. And as we get older, she talks about how that changes and how she finally got to a point that she had to just be herself.
Oh my God, it changes. It's so changed, especially your bodily changes. I was watching Lizzo's Big Girls, and it was so funny because I was telling a friend of mine, oh, see, them girls got young fat. Young fat is you don't have all the dips, the cellulite. You just thick, but it's all together. I was like, oh shit, I got old fat down there now. I don't have that. So I really need to read that. Yeah, because it is, you go through all kind of body changes, but it's all good. It's definitely all good.
So I'm a little, I mean, I know that it will happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just also, I've had 4 kids, but I
Mm-hmm.
try not to get stuck in for me, it's like a mindset of thinking like, oh, I'm older, I can't.
Oh, right.
Because I think that it's a slippery slope. Like there's certain things, yes, that will just change naturally because it's just what's going to happen. But
Right.
in the idea, like I do CrossFit and I hear a lot of people, oh my God, like I just can't do it. Like, oh, I'm 35 now, or they're like, wait till you're 40. And then but for every one person who says that, I see 10 people who are, significantly older. I mean, there's people who are 60s and 70s going to the CrossFit games.
Absolutely.
So,
their experience isn't your experience. I'm 58. I am 58 years old.
Okay, you guys cannot see her. You cannot. Okay, she said when I got on that I looked 20. So if I look 20, then she looks 25.
Well, thank you, my love. Thank you. And I work out with the trainer. And sometimes when I work out with the trainer, I'm telling Jasmine, I'm too old to be doing this crap. And she's like, girl, you doing it all day long. So shut up. And that's it. And, I try to take care of myself. I take a lot of supplements. I really believe in self-care, especially at this age, especially you got 4 kids. So, we give it to everybody else but us. And so a friend of mine helped me come up with the idea of my personal Sabbath. So Sunday is my personal Sabbath. I don't do anything that I don't want to do. If I don't want to do it, I'm given a free pass and I don't do it. And it's been so freeing. I've been doing this for the last, I want to say 6 to 7 months, but it really has kind of changed my world. And it's a beautiful, good thing.
Well, thank you for making me part of your personal Sabbath.
Yes,
that's really nice.
Personal Sabbath.
That I really, honestly, I feel very grateful for that. Thank you, because you could be doing anything, and you are here dealing with my ass. So thank you.
No worries.
So, okay, you grew up in California. You have a great family. Why did you decide to be an attorney?
That is a good question. And, I really saw the family member yesterday that helped me with being an attorney. Courtney, I'm going to stop this for 1 second. Can you stop for 1 second so I get something to drink?
No big.
It's in my room. I'm like, why do I have cotton mouth? Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. It's probably all the alcohol I had yesterday.
That'll do it.
It will. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, that'll definitely do it. What's your drink of choice?
Oh, I had Prosecco all yesterday. We had a family event, and so tequila and champagne and Prosecco are always my drinks of choice.
Okay. Do you have any favorite types of tequila?
Anejo and Reposado and Tres Generations. I love that.
There is a really good tequila, Frida Kahlo.
Really?
Yes.
Who is one of it's not one. She's the most inspirational external person in my life. I have all of her stuff all over my house.
Okay, another book. I tell everybody about this. Well, I don't really tell everybody about this book if I get a God wink. So I don't know what you believe in, if you believe in anything.
I do.
But another thing, my I call her Memo. We're from the South. So Memo would, say like those little coincidences that are just too coincidental to be only a coincidence. You call them God
Mhm.
winks.
Mhm.
And I happen to find a book. I have it right here. It's called When God Winks at You.
Oh, okay.
And it's how God speaks directly to you through the power of coincidence.
I'm writing that down.
Really good. Really, really good. Probably going to make you cry
Okay.
at least 3 times.
Okay. I'm gonna order it today. And I'm a hard book. I like a book. I don't like reading online, so I'm gonna get the book.
Me either. I can do it. I do not prefer it. I like to highlight.
Yeah.
I like to touch it. I want to feel it. I want to earmark it.
That's me. I like the experience of reading with a book.
Yeah. And it's so much screen time anyway. It's like, I don't want another reason to be on my screen.
I hear you. I hear you.
So. Okay. So back to why law.
So this was so funny. I was at a family event, and the person that kind of convinced my mom to go back to school is this man called Alfred Jenkins. And he was a great family friend. He's like my cousin. And he was a lawyer and here in Los Angeles. And growing up, I wanted to be three things. Either a waitress, because I loved how waitress would put plates on their arms. I thought that was the most regal crap, the whole balancing of it. I used to think that was the best shit ever. I always yacked a lot, talked a lot. So everybody's like, you should be an attorney. And then I absolutely loved Tina Turner growing up. So my mother and dad used to take us to Vegas, and we would see the Tina Turner review, the Ike and Tina Turner review in Vegas. And I would come home, put on the wig, put on the outfit, and do the review. I just thought this woman was just incredible. And back in the day when you would see her in Vegas, this woman would do a show at high energy. And I just thought, oh my God, this is the most wonderful thing under the sun. So my mother was like, ain't no money in being a waitress. Sorry. Okay. And I think Tina Turner's got that one sewn up. So maybe you should try law. And so I went to law school up north. I went to law school with our vice president, Kamala Harris. We went to the same law school. We knew each other in law school, all of that kind of stuff. She was in Black Law Students Association. She was my little sister in Black Law Student Association. And when I went to law school, I hated it. I thought, this is the most horrific shit I've ever signed up for. Okay. And I remember the first day of law school, they did this whole thing. Look to the right, look to the left. One of you people are going to be gone. It's so competitive. They made us just like hate each other. I was lucky that I got two really lifelong friends. Unfortunately, one of them just passed maybe a month now ago. So Bev and Mary Trejo were Beverly Craig, Mary Trejo were my tribe. Those are my two girls. And they literally lifted me up through that process to get through. And one thing I said is when I leave law or law school, I want to do things that people don't normally do. And that's kind of what I did. I started off, but then I started doing other different kind of things. And that's continued. And now I'm doing cannabis law, which is, not really the norm. But that's how I got into it. It's just the process of elimination from Tina Turner and being a waitress and really just doing something that I think I was built for now that I really look at it. The amazing part is I really figured out in the last 3 years of this whole pandemic and everything happened that I live a life of service. That's what I was meant to put here, to be on this earth for. And to service in a different way. I am no nonsense, matter of fact. I'm gonna give it to you with no chaser. I'm gonna say what's on my mind. But I think to a certain extent, people need that, especially with something that is so scary as law. I think it intimidates people. And so what I try to do, thanks to my Medea said, you can explain anything that a 5-year-old can understand. And I try to do that. I try to break down legal theories. I try to talk to my clients so they can understand it. They're not intimidated, that they feel I can do this. And so that's the thing I'm really the proudest about my legal career, even though I hated it, the whole process of getting here. Now that I've gotten here, I really like the type of lawyer that I am for people. I am compassionate. I give you my all. I'm empathetic, but I'm gonna give it to you and tell you when you're wrong, you're wrong. And if it's not gonna be a good case, it's not gonna be a good case. And if the cannabis thing ain't working out for you, you shouldn't be the one doing it. So I'm really fortunate that I found my footing in this space. I really, really am.
So you started your consulting company in 2016. Were
Mhm.
you in the cannabis industry prior
Hell
to
no.
that?
Hell no. I didn't smoke. I wasn't in the cannabis industry. Absolutely not. I had a neighbor, and her name is Monique Jackson Fitzgerald. And she really, right after I left corporate America, I had a bad experience, and I was just like, I can't do this shit no more. I got to be a Starbucks barista to make my mortgage. I got to do whatever I got to do, but I'm not going to do this. And so she came to me and she said, well, cannabis is going to be legalized in California. What about a consulting business? And so I was like, really? I knew absolutely nothing. And so she kind of guided us. And then the crazy thing about it, 10 months after we got started and we're getting momentum, she decided she wanted to be on the creative side of cannabis with her husband, and she left our practice. And I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I ain't even gonna try to act like I had it all together. I was in bed for 3 days with a bottle of tequila, gaslighting myself. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. As women, how we do it sometimes when we're on some bullshit. I just really got there. And my fiance said, you need to get your ass up. I know you can do this. And I really did. I got my ass up and I just took off. And I'm doing things that I never thought I would do in the cannabis space in 2017. I didn't even think I could do that. And so it's been a wonderful experience. I'm still expanding. I give myself all the time yearly goals that I want for my person and my practice. And that's kind of where I am. I'm really excited the way it's going. It's going good. And now, of course, I was out in COVID, with everybody else. But since last year, everything seems to be bouncing back, and it's been really good. I can't even say it hasn't.
How was the cannabis industry affected during COVID?
Well, the great thing about it here in California, it was an essential job, like working at a grocery store. And so, yeah, there was some slack off, right, in the beginning with everybody until it was deemed essential by our governor. Thank you, Governor. And then it kind of took off because we're at home, we're stressed. Might as well take some gummies, might as well get high, might as well alleviate that tension. And then it started to really come back. And so it's been good. It's been good. I'm really thankful that it was an essential job. I really am.
My husband asked me before this interview, he's like, you want to take a gummy? I was like, no. Are you insane? I am just too much of like hot mess. I'm not really great on cannabis. Just like I want to eat and be fat. That's what I want to do, which is completely counterproductive to anything I need to do in my life.
I know, but it's so good. It's so good. I love that.
I prefer, it's funny because my grandmother, my mama that was her thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rest her soul to the moment she was gone. That was like her thing. I would love, she was arrested for it actually.
Really?
She was. So she had a pound of marijuana.
Oh, look at me, mom, getting down. Okay.
She had sold her house in Florida and she went to see my aunt and she was like, let me just make a pit stop in New Mexico and buy some. She didn't buy anything there. She bought like, you know, what are they called? Pipes and stuff. And then
The paraphernalia.
she carried it though. And then she random stop in New Mexico and that was it. And she actually went to jail.
Wow.
She went to jail
For
for
how long?
6 months. My mama went to jail. And so I would always laugh like, my mama
Oh,
was a thug because
she was a straight G. Okay.
I was like,
Mima was a G.
but after having my kids and like postpartum and realizing I had another girl actually from California on my podcast and whatever, she had given me a little more education. So I always had this negative idea around it because of what happened to my grandmother. It ruined her life. Basically, that's what happened. She was a nurse and it just, everything went downhill from that point. So I started being more interested in how I could use it medicinally and more naturally. And so I didn't realize, oh, there's different strains, right? I didn't understand that. So when I was just generalizing, like, I'm going to just be fat and unproductive. My husband's like, no, like there's so much more to it. And so that's very interesting to me. And I think that if we can start showing people that part, it's going to change things a lot.
Absolutely. And that's what I do in my practice. I do a lot of education, especially communities of color, because we were so impacted by it, right? Arrested like your Mima, all of that. And so, and people don't realize I had this conversation with Alfred because he cracked me up. He's like, so what are you doing now? I said, I'm doing cannabis. He's like, cannabis, what's that? The man's in his 70s. I was like, weed, marijuana, oh, dope.
Yeah.
And that was a running joke with me and my cousins yesterday. You know I'm doing dope law, don't you? You know I'm doing dope law. But just educating him, he had no idea. I mean, dispensaries, he literally had no idea about, he was like, well, there's stuff that doesn't make you high. I said, yes, the THC that makes you high. So if you get a lower THC or CBD that's 0.03% or under, it's not going to make you high. I mean, he had absolutely no idea about it. And so I just really see, especially, it was so funny. I was doing this educational program and with a big Latina group. And they were talking about how their grandmothers put it in tea in Mexico, and they would put it with rubbing alcohol, and they would rub it on their bodies for, if they were sore, muscle ache stuff. So there's always been some kind of version of it, right? That people have used. And so I thought that was just really, really interesting. But you're absolutely correct. We have got to educate people because we're so quick to pick up medicine, a prescription, as opposed to why not do something natural, and why not find an ingestion method that you like. I am not a smoker. I am not a vapor. I do gummies, and I, balance it. In fact, I think I have some at my desk here. Yeah. And these are kind of some invigorating gummies when I'm too wired up. I just put a little one in my mouth, five, good blend, and that's just basically it. But yeah, it's a lot of misconceptions around cannabis. It really, really is. Now, my family totally freaked out when I told them I was doing this. I come from a very Catholic background, a very conservative Black family. And so they were like, I just don't get it, but I had to educate them. Now, my aunts, my sister, I mean, everybody is at the dispensary, or they don't go, but they have me go, and I get stuff for them that really, really helps them. Yeah. So, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. After she died, I was like, I just didn't know how to like honor her. And it felt almost like wrong to be, Like we joked at her funeral, like maybe we should just give everyone like little joints, like like handed out. And my aunt was like, "Oh my God, we cannot do that." And I was like, "But it's so memo. Like
Right,
she would be here smoking if she was here.
right,
Like
right.
that would be what she was doing." And I'm not a smoker either, so that's the
Uh-huh.
other thing. But especially I just want the people who have been the most negatively impacted to be on the other side
Right.
of all this profitability, and especially in Florida, where it has every cannabis company has to be vertically integrated.
Yeah,
Which
you
is
guys are medicinal. You're not adult use yet. Right,
not yet.
right, right.
And
Mm-hmm,
so, but I'm like in an area too, even where I live, I'm a little in the rural area,
mm-hmm,
and it's very black and white here still.
mm-hmm.
It's very obviously black and white. And I'm like, there's so much agriculture here. They need to be profiting from this because it's just not fair. So I am
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to pioneer that because my memo was just not a confrontational person or not,
Mm-hmm.
she didn't want to, she just wanted to use it and be alone on her own.
Right, 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 right. It is. And that's why I think different social equity programs around the country are attempting to do that. Those neighborhoods that were negatively impacted by the war on drugs, or people who have gone off, or people who have convictions, that they get first at licensing, or they get, or communities get reinvestment dollars, that type of thing. But it is it's crazy. It is such a white male oriented business. Minorities are non-existent practically. I forget the number, but I know one time it was less than 1%, 2%. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And that's why I stay in this space, because we need advocates. We need brown and black people to be representative and represent others. The crazy part about it, because it's federally illegal, because it's a Schedule I drug, it's the capital that's a problem. We don't have this network usually of people of color, of people with money. White folks do. They have that network. And if you want to know how they can get it, I think that Netflix show Inventing Anna is the craziest crap, because it really tells you how your white privilege can take you as far as you can go. I mean, it's amazing. And we could never do that. It would not
No.
be Inventing Toni, because if it was Inventing Toni, Toni would be back, wouldn't even have a chance to do that.
No.
But unfortunately, that's the same thing we see in cannabis. So we see, wealthy white folks who have connections and money being able to get capital or convince or do whatever they do. And unfortunately, black and brown people don't have that. And then we don't know the business nomenclature, right? We don't know what the business plan looks like. We don't know kind of pro formas and financials. We weren't exposed to all of that. And that's what I bring from my corporate life, because when I worked for these companies, they were the internal client, I was counsel. So I bring all of that knowledge and exposure from corporate America to my clients. But that's the biggest thing. And I'm so hoping that it gets descheduled from a Schedule I. And we see there's a banking act and all of that going on Capitol Hill. And I'm hoping all that changes, because then we can get loans, we can get that capital. Now people are just going for angel investors, just anybody who can give them that money. But it's got to change. It's got to really change.
And so for people who are listening who are like, what is Schedule I? What does that mean?
So a Schedule I drug by the Controlled Substance Act basically says there's really no medicinal value to it. And also it's highly addictive. Okay. So that's kind of the criteria. But other drugs that are Schedule I are crack, heroin, ecstasy. Okay, I'm not going to put crack and cannabis in the same category. I'm not thinking that. But of course, our government has. And so we're hoping if it's descheduled, like hemp was descheduled, that people will have an opportunity, number one, not to be arrested if they cross state lines. They will be able to have banking, they'll be able to raise capital, that it just doesn't have all this negative connotation around it, right? Because we see state by state by state, there's so many states opening up. And for your grandmother, New Mexico is about to legalize. So,
Crazy.
it's just, if they already have it, I think they're about to do it if they already have it. But it's amazing. It's just amazing how we're so limited because of this characterization of cannabis.
Yeah, I was looking at voting on it this year, and we don't even have it on the ballot in Florida
No,
now.
you don't. Mm-hmm.
So, but it's always like a little frustrating to me because I'm like, that's a new one.
Right.
Oh, that one wasn't there a couple months ago, and there's 5 in my 10-mile radius, and I'm just like, the people, I just want us to win. I just want us to win, and I'm tired of like just accepting that. Well, I mean, that's like just the way it is.
Right. Because it's going to be on the ballot in Ohio. It's medicinal in Ohio, but adult use is going on the ballot. And my whole thing is always, oh my God, if the Midwest, sometimes as conservatives, Ohio can do it. But Florida, your governor, I don't know. He's just one big question mark. But you're right. And a lot of people just take those chances. They'll just say, screw it. I'm going to put up and sell it. And if I get caught, I'll deal with the consequences. But the thought is I hopefully can make so much money in this period of time that
I can pay for the consequences. I'll
pay for the consequences. I call them via my friend penitentiary chances. Folks take the penitentiary chances. I might go to jail, but hey, let me see what happens. But I'm not about that life. So
no. Yeah. So okay. So with 4-Leaf Consulting, if someone, or at what stage should somebody seek your services?
At any stage, really. If you're just curious, I had a woman called me from Atlanta, and she makes these brownies, and she makes cannabis brownies, and she wanted to see if she could sell them in particular municipalities. And so I did all the research for her, and she couldn't. Because what other people don't understand is not only is it the whole cannabis regulation that you're going through, if something is ingested, it's part of public health, right? And so we saw there was a ton of Department of Public Health saying you can't use cannabis in dairy. That's here in California too. You can't use cannabis in caffeine. You can only use a particular chocolate. So her recipe was going to be totally screwed up. And she wanted to come here in California. In California, you're pretty much vegan and stay on the shelf. I mean, it has to be preserved, right? And she didn't want to do it that way. So people can call me about a consultation. I'm interested, kind of how much money do I need? What do I need to do? How do I get involved in cannabis? Or if they're looking for licensing, or if they're looking for operational business suggestions, need to do formation documents. I have now somebody on my staff that is a CFO, so he helps with all the financials and helps interpret the financials for client, how to create a pro forma, because a lot of these competitive applications, you're going to need that, how you can do business plans, all of that, and then if you are operational, how do we get your business better? Maybe you've got a not so good product list. And so we have a lot of vendors in our network and people in our network that can help you with that. So I do it from soup to nuts. And that's the part of the practice that I really do like. I like helping people with their dream, but with a realistic version. And we talk about risk mitigation, because that's what lawyering is all about, is assessing and mitigating risk and telling folks about those risks. So yeah, We do it all. We absolutely do it all.
So I'm Courtney, and I decide I want to open up a cannabis dining restaurant. I don't know. I'm in Florida, and I come to you.
That ain't gonna happen. That's gonna be a short consultation. That's gonna be
or
I'm not even
Oklahoma.
gonna say an hour. I'm gonna be like, Courtney, you got a half an hour, and we can talk about other crap in between. Because what people have to know. So I'll take for example in California, because I always get this in California. You know, I want to have a consumption lounge. Well, in California, licensing is a dual kind of track. You have to have a local license and a state license. And so locally, the jurisdiction has to allow for a consumption lounge. And if they don't allow, then you can't get licensed, because the state is going to, you know, kind of defer to what the locality wants first before they ever get involved. So you have to really kind of piece apart what you want to do and if it's legal to do it. The same thing I was using the example about the brownies. We were looking in Michigan, and I think it was Michigan or somewhere we were looking at. She really couldn't do it there. She couldn't do it here, but she wanted to do it at a private house. And she said, well, how about if I do it at a private house in a state where adult use is okay? And so then we start pulling apart, yeah, you can do it, and this is how you do it, and yada, yada, yada. So we had that kind of conversation that you may not do it this way, but let's kind of look at some ways you can do it and how you've got to kind of change your objective to make it happen. Right? The objective was she wanted was these great, moist, beautiful brownies with milk and chocolate and nuts and this, that, and the other. In California, you can't do that. But maybe we could do it at a private party and a sign off and all these other kind of things. You know, you just have to see if it can work. And that's what I kind of try to help clients with.
Do you think that it will be legal in the US, all like recreational use, in the next 20 years?
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be legal in the next 5 years. I'm not confident Biden's going to make it legal. I'm not. But I really do believe it's so crazy internationally how much steam it's getting. You know, really kind of the country that pioneers and does a lot of research and a lot of information comes out of Israel. And so, you know, there was a big cannabis conference in Barcelona, Spain in the last 2 weeks, and, you know, people in Colombia. So we see it internationally, how it's getting the legs to become this emerging market. I believe the same. There's too many states now that are getting it on board medicinally, and people who are advocating adult use. I believe it in the next 5 to 6 years, it's going to be there. I don't believe it's Biden.
And how do you think people of color can get involved, whether it be like pioneering the legalization or trying to get involved as a grower or as an owner or something? What would your recommendation be?
I would say start with groups. And that's kind of what I did too. I took a lot of classes. I became self-educated because when I started in 2016, there's not anything, right? It wasn't legalization in California yet. It was on the horizon. But I would start with, for example, the Minority Cannabis Business Association. And they'll have a lot of webinars and content. The one great thing that the pandemic brought was there's so much virtual material out there now that you can absolutely do your due diligence and get educated. One group that I love that I'm involved with, and they've just taken off, is Women Empowered at Cannabis. I think they do an incredible job of women in the supply chain, women in marketing, because you don't have to touch the plant to be in this in this cannabis industry, right? People like me, I don't touch the plant, but I'm ancillary to it. There's this wonderful nurse, Toni. She has these CBD products that are absolutely great. So there's so many women, so many people in there, but just start looking at some of the groups. There's like, I forget their names, Minorities for Marijuana or Medical Marijuana. Yeah, Minorities for Medical Marijuana. So they really look at medicinal, right? And they're a big group. You can go to MJ BizCon, and I don't say just go to look at the booths, but go to see what's kind of out there. And there's local groups, Normal, NORML. There's a lot of Normal chapters. Kiana Hughes has one, a friend of mine in Chicago. They do great work. And so join those kind of organizations or just see what they're all about so you can educate yourself about cannabis and how you can get involved and the avenues that you can get involved. I just did with the LA Department of Cannabis Regulation, we did a huge job fair last week, and we did a virtual job fair the day before talking about what jobs are with different types of business license types, because people don't know, what does a cultivator do? What does a manufacturer do? How do I become a trimmer? Is that a job? Is that a gig? And they're competitive. So I think you just really have to be open to do research about those things, and the information's out there. It definitely is.
Thank you, Toni.
You're welcome.
You're so smart. Oh my God, you're so smart. You're
so funny. Oh, well, thank you, love.
No, thank you. It was really a pleasure. I think it was a God wink as well.
I am. I'm going to get that book because I love that. I love the God wink.
It is crazy. But the other God wink was when you talked about Tina Turner. So I have great quads. Mm-hmm. But people used to tell me like I was Tina Turner, and I used to do like, I love this thing. Like that was like my favorite when I was little. I don't even know why. I was like 6 and I was like, I'm Tina Turner. Like, I just thought that I was.
We're at the later part. I was when she was still with Ike. Okay. But yeah, you know what I think about Tina? I think it was just her energy, for me, her physical strength. I mean, just her whole physicality. Yeah. Because to me, she didn't look like women that I knew. She was just more than women that I knew. I mean, she didn't care. And it was this sense of freedom, even though we absolutely know she wasn't free. But on stage, she just, to me, exuded this freedom. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the 3 most impactful outside of my family people in my life have been Frida Kahlo, Prince, and her.
You really have to try that tequila.
Okay, I will.
Because it's really good.
Okay, I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna look for some.
I worked at a restaurant. It was a tequila, like it was a Mexican place. It wasn't really Mexican. Uh-huh. It was like not really Mexican, but we had hundreds of different tequilas, and part of our training was like tequila tasting. We had to be able to identify what a reposado was, what an añejo was, what a silver. Like we had to actually be able to taste and identify which one was which. So it was really amazing. And
that sounds amazing.
I don't really like tequila that much.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. But yes, I will send you a few things. Thank you again for taking your Sabbath day to be with.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you, my love. And you be blessed and you be well with those 4 kids. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes. And keep me posted on any, any things that you're, got going on. Were you able to fill out that Google form? It was giving someone else an issue. Okay, good.
Yes. And Kara Reed, the person that I said you should have on your show, is the founder of Women Empowered in Cannabis. And you can tell her Toni suggested that I be suggested that you be on my podcast, because I think she's incredible at what she's done and really supporter of brown and Black women. And that's the part that I like about her.
Yes, I love that. Your energy too is like fabulous. If you're like this all the time,
Oh my
it's
God,
amazing.
it's a low energy day. I feel
Well,
so low in energy. I said, I need to show up and be my best self, but this
no,
is as good as it gets. Because I remember I just stopped that big project last week. I've been working. Yesterday was my family. I've been in bed all day watching Bridgerton, upset that Roger's not there, but still happy
I'm gonna
because,
have to watch it.
oh, it's so good.
I
And
like a
that,
good mystery or a drama
oh, you do?
or
Okay, Pieces of
yeah.
Her. I'm watching Bridgerton and
Oh,
Pieces of
wait,
Her.
that's the one with the mom. I'm trying to figure out who the mom, like what she does, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
in witness
Okay.
protection. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
finishing up that. I'm finishing up that. So I know you love the British mystery shows that are on Netflix. I love a good British mystery show. Oh my God.
Anything
Have
mystery.
you seen The Fall?
No.
It's older. It's with that guy from the Gray series. You have got to watch it.
Is it on Netflix or
Jamie
it's on
Jordan.
like Hulu or something?
It's probably because it was in like 2015. So yeah, you might have to look on Hulu or Netflix. But The Fall, unbelievable. You love it. Marcella, have you watched Marcella?
Mm-mm.
Okay, yeah. So when you go on
Okay,
Netflix, put in British shows, British mysteries like The Stranger. If you like that genre, they've got
yeah.
the British are for you.
Yeah.
The British are for you.
Or anything spy or I think
You'll love it.
in another
You'll
life I
love
would have
it.
been like an ass kick. Like I would have been like one of those people. Like I'll go undercover and like
Yeah.
find some shit. Like that would have been me. For sure. But yeah, your energy is like I feel like it takes a lot to do this. I don't think people really actually realize like to just
It
talk to
does.
people, right? You're expending energy and I definitely don't want to be like, hi, how are you?
No, that's not my personality at
How's
all.
life? So you were just like, yes, to end my Sunday. This is great. I'm about to might hug my kids today. Shit. Might do something great. But thank you.
Absolutely.
I will send you everything, like a
Okay.
teaser clip and a link. It's gonna be probably not for like 2 months because I
Oh,
have
that's
a
fine.
bunch of
That's
episodes
absolutely
before.
fine.
And then if there's anything that is coming up around that time, so what are we, April, May? Yes,
Mhm.
around May that you're doing that I can also just kind of co-promote at the same time, just send it to me.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
And
Thank
I
you, love.
will. No,
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great Sunday. Go into
You
this
too.
week to win. Enjoy your edibles. I will probably have one before I go to sleep.
All right. It's such a pleasure meeting you. Take good care.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye bye.